My wife said, "I don't love you like I used to." I said, "Same." I still remember the way she said it. Slow, flat, like she had rehearsed the words in front of the mirror for days. We were sitting on the couch in our tiny living room, the one with the peeling wallpaper that I promised we'd fix last year. The TV was on, muted, and a single lamp cast a dim yellow light over her face. I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat felt dry. Instead, I looked at her and just said, "Same." The truth was, I didn't. Not exact. I loved her differently now. Worn in, tired, still clinging to the echoes of what we used to be, but I couldn't lie either. For years, we had been this quiet rhythm. I'd get up early, make coffee, and she'd leave a note on the fridge, a tiny heart drawn with a pen. Then kids, bills, work, sleepless nights, and slowly, we became roommates who occasionally smiled at each other across the dinner table. Our love didn't vanish overnight. It was a slow evaporation, like the ice cubes she always forgot to take out of her drink. I remember the day I realized it. She had gone out with her friends, and I stayed home, reading the same book for the third time. I was tired, exhausted by a love that demanded more than I could give. And then it hit me. Love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's a whisper, a quiet acceptance, and that's okay. So when she said it, "I don't love you like I used to," I wasn't shocked. I was sad, yes, but I understood. She looked at me, waiting for anger, begging, or tears. But I just smiled faintly, a little too bitter, and said, "Same." Her lips trembled, but she nodded, almost relieved. That's when I realized something important. We weren't breaking up. We were simply admitting a truth we had both avoided. It hurt, but it was honest. The kind of honesty people only reach after years of pretending. After a moment, we laughed quietly, the awkward kind that feels heavier than silence. She rested her head on my shoulder, and I held her hand. Not because it would fix anything, but because it felt human. I remembered our wedding day, how she had laughed when I spilled champagne on her dress. I remembered our first apartment, how we had painted the walls together and argued over the wrong shade of blue. Those memories were ours, and love, even faded, doesn't erase them. Later that week, I found myself walking through our old neighborhood alone, past the little bakery where we had our first date, the park where we had argued over a silly fight and ended up laughing instead. I realized that love is complicated. It doesn't always stay in the same form, doesn't always roar and shine. Sometimes it whispers through quiet acceptance, through forgiving each other for being imperfect, through choosing to sit together even when hearts feel heavy. I went home that evening and found her in the kitchen, humming softly while washing dishes. I joined her side by side, and we worked in silence, no words needed. In the spaces between chores, I felt the old warmth, subtle but persistent, like the faint glow of embers in a dying fire. And I understood then. We could still care for each other, still exist together without pretending. It wasn't the love we started with, but it was ours, in its messy, fragile, human way. That night, we went to bed without promises or apology. No grand gestures, no declaration. Just two people lying side by side, knowing that love changes, sometimes quietly dissolves, but it also leaves its mark, soft, persistent, unspoken. And maybe that's enough. Maybe acknowledging it, facing it together, even when it hurts, is the truest kind of love left. Because in the end, same wasn't resignation. It was survival, understanding, and a tiny spark of respect for what we once had and what we could still hold on to quietly in our own broken, beautiful way. It was imperfect, but it was ours, and that mattered more than anything.